This episode of the Old Dogs REI Network is brought to you by Mino Studio.
In a world where jobs are how most people make money, one man, one desire, one challenge dares to break the mold. Welcome to the Old Dogs REI Network, where we don't work for money. Money works for us. Coming soon. Viewer discretion advised.
Welcome to the Old Dogs REI Network, where cash flow is king. Real estate investing, the means, so you can enjoy your retirement dreams. This is the show where we cut right to the chase. No sales pitch, no long monologues, just simple how-to real estate investing advice, so you can earn the passive income you need to enjoy your retirement today. And now, your host and chief old dog, Bill Manacero.
Welcome to the Old Dogs REI Network. I'm your host, Bill Manacero, and this is a show where 50-plussers and anyone else who wants to join us get solid, no sales pitch real estate investing advice to help generate real cash flow. This podcast airs twice weekly on Mondays and Fridays, and if you aren't already a subscriber, go to iTunes or Apple Podcast, type in Old Dog, spelled D-A-W-G, find our podcast and subscribe. Well, we've got a great show for you today. I'm totally stoked for it. We got a guy named Tyler Jensen. Now, Tyler is a sort of flipper extraordinaire here. Let me tell you a little about him. Tyler is an avid real estate investor, international house flipper. I got to hear about that one. Philanthropist, coach, husband, and father to three amazing boys, okay? And I think these are reversed in terms of, which ones are the most important and the most difficult, right? He has been flipping houses for more than 10 years. He started flipping houses in college and has never looked back. He loves real estate and gets satisfaction from taking an old, dumpy crack house and turning it into something truly amazing that a family will be able to create memories in as their new home. Tyler has built a great business and has one of the best flipping companies in the country. His systems and processes for flipping houses have been raising the bar for other investors. He loves coaching and helping others pursue their dreams and passions in real estate. Tyler has also coordinated several charity projects, both locally and internationally, from donating a rehab to a local single mother for Christmas to building houses in the Dominican Republic. He is truly a go-getter and has a love for using his skill to bless the lives of others. He loves giving back and loves pushing the envelope on rehabbing houses. Wow. Tyler, well, welcome to the Old Dogs REI Network.
Hey, thanks, Bill. I'm so excited to be on this show, man. Can't wait.
We're excited to have you. This is you got an awesome background, and I'm definitely going to touch on as much of that bio as I can.
Yeah.
You've got some neat things happening, so hopefully we'll get a chance to kind of veer a little bit off real estate and talk a little about some of these other special projects you've done. Sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
But first, before we get started, we like to get to know our guests. Our old dog audience here really loves to know the people that we interview, and love to hear as much about your background, where you came from, grew up, that kind of thing, and how you ultimately ended up in this crazy real estate business here.
Yeah, let me set the stage for you. So I'm from Utah. So I grew up in just north of Salt Lake City, Utah. Grew up here my whole life. I grew up on a dairy farm in northern Utah. My dad, we didn't own the farm, but we lived on it. And so my dad made us get up and milk cows in the morning and all of that stuff. So I learned how to work hard as a young boy, right, growing up. milking cows. I hated it. I still
Wow.
hate milking cows to this day, but it was such a good lesson to learn, right? My dad would always say, hey, look, you got to get up and work hard. And I would milk cows before school and come home and milk cows. And so that was really the beginnings, right, of how I learned how to work. And then kind of grew up here in Utah, went to high school. I served a mission for my church for a couple of years in Australia. And then I came back from that. And then I started going to college, and my plan was to get into real estate. And my dad and I started a company in 2008. It was called Pay It Forward Enterprises. And that was the beginnings of kind of my real estate career. We would do short sales and foreclosures was kind of our focus. 2008 was kind of the bottom of the market. So we started there, and we would just help people get out of foreclosures and short sales and stuff like that. My dad had gone through a foreclosure when I was a kid. And so we just wanted to help people out of that situation. We knew what it was like. We knew kind of that feeling that you get of going in a foreclosure. So we wanted to Pay It Forward was the name of our company. We just did that as I was trying to get through college, right? So we would flip 1 or 2 houses a year. I would do all the work. So I would paint and tile and do everything like that in real estate. Like as far as the construction side, I did it all. So I would work full time. I'd go to school at night.
Wow.
And then on nights and weekends when I had free time, I would go and flip these houses. So that's kind of where it all started is back in there. And then kind of fast forward a little bit, I would still flip. So since 2008, I've been flipping houses. A lot of it was kind of on my own. And then I graduated college, and I kind of took the corporate America route and still flipping houses just to help me pay for college and everything else. And then I kind of took that corporate ladder. I was a COO for a while of a company, an investment firm. I was a director of operations. I did a lot of that kind of stuff, but I knew that real estate was kind of always my passion, and that, I loved working corporate America, but it was 80 hours a week, and it was just, they kind of take your soul for money. And so I wanted to be able to make really good income, but be able to have freedom and to raise my kids and enjoy time with my spouse. And it was just really hard for me to do that as a CEO or a COO of a company. And so we can touch more on that, but that's kind of the background story of where I started, is that I've always loved real estate. I've always kind of, been drawn to that, but it's just, how did I make it happen? The traditional route, I went to college, I got my degree, and then I kind of just transitioned just recently into investing full time.
A few questions here. Now, what was your degree in college?
So I did accounting and English. I did a dual major.
Okay, great. Did you mention? Okay, so I'm seeing you had the dairy business. You're milking cows. Yeah. What got you into real estate, and where did you learn to rehab houses and all that stuff? Where did the real estate interest come in there?
Yeah, so I have always known that you could make good money in real estate just by watching some other people and talking with some of my mentors growing up, that I knew that I always wanted to be a doctor, right? Before I, all through high school and all of that, I thought I was going to go to school for medical school. And then while I was in Australia, I had one of my mentors who he told me, he's like, hey, why don't you go into business, and you could, make just as much money in business as you can being a doctor, and your quality of life is better, right? You're not working, crazy shifts. You're not on call. You're not doing anything like that. So that's really where it started, that idea that, yeah, I could make money in business. And real estate for me was just that product, because I knew that it was profitable, right? That you could make a good income by dealing in real estate. And so that's kind of that path that I chose to take.
And the skills to be able to, totally rehab a house, from plumbing to drywalling to, where did you pick that up?
It was lots of YouTube and lots of asking questions and I would pay people to come and just consult me. So I would hire like an electrician. I'm like, hey, I can't pay you to do this whole job, but I'll pay you $100 to tell me how to do it. Right. And so I just did a lot of that. It was a lot of trial by fire, and just asking a lot of questions and just having that willingness to make it happen.
Wow. Now, are you still actively involved in the actual construction or the rehab part of it?
No. So flip forward to my business now, is I don't even see the houses that we rehab most of the time. So I have a project manager. We have 3 crews that are working for us full time, flipping our houses. So I don't even, it's sad because that was usually my favorite part, but I don't even see some of the houses that we're flipping now. So I'm very not involved in the construction side of it.
And are you doing most of the houses in Utah?
Yep. All of them are in Utah.
All of them are in Utah. Wow. Okay, so you decided to get into this. Now, do you remember your first flip? First one out of the chute?
First one out of the chute. So our first flip that we did, we lost $37,000.
Oh, wow. That was pretty good.
Yeah, right?
Your accounting skills came in real handy, right?
Yeah, totally. So we made every mistake in the book. We bought it wrong. We over rehabbed it. We thought that our after repaired value was going to be a lot higher than it was. Like, we just made every mistake. And $37,000 for a young college kid, that was more money than I would make in a year. And so I didn't have that money to lose. So we had partnered with a guy and we said, hey, look, we'll do all the work. You fund the deal and we'll split it 50-50. And we ended up losing. And I said, hey, look, we're going to make sure that we make it right with you, right? It was our mistake. We didn't know what we were doing. You took a trust on us, so we're going to pay it back. So our second flip, we made $39,000. We just signed it all over to our investor and said, hey, look, we've made you whole. Sorry, it was a great lesson learned. And yeah, the first one, we just made every mistake. The second one, we kind of got it right. Maybe we got lucky. I don't know. And then our third one, we made $19,000 on. And so that third one, that $19,000 was really, I'm like, okay, we figured it out, right? Our first one, yep, we learned that was the best education I could have ever got, right? And so that was our first one, our first deal that we lost. And then it took us till our third, almost 18 months later, to make that third deal. And yeah, we made $19,000 on it. So I could have given up then. I probably should have given up then, but it was just something inside of me that I said, hey, no, I want to make sure that we have integrity. We make sure we take care of this investor and that we just keep moving forward. So that's what we did. That was kind of how it all happened.
Very cool. You've kind of had to have an idea of what to do. I mean, did you basically learn on HGTV and YouTube? In terms of how to flip houses?
For our first one, yeah, we leaned on a lot of like realtors, and we had some people on our team that, we were just starting out, so we had no idea. So we just had to learn from other people that had done it, and we just took a shot.
Okay. Gosh, it's really. Now you started in, you said 2009?
2008.
2008. Yep. Well, that's probably a great time. I can't think of any other time where you could have got houses at a total discount and been able to rehab them. And then I guess when did prices really start to go up?
Yeah. So, and then we started doing those flips, and then we started getting into we would do short sales. And so we would negotiate with the bank, and we'd do that A to B transaction, and then we would turn around and sell it retail to someone else. And so we did that for a long time. In 2008, we kind of got away a little bit from the flipping side as far as rehabbing, but we were more just flipping the contracts, right? We would close on one day and then close on the next contract the next day. And so we did a lot of those things. And then kind of 2010, 2011, all of those short sales and foreclosures kind of started going away. And so we used to get notice of defaults and all of that. And it just, the market started to get better, right? And started to recover. And so then we just kind of switched back into flipping houses and doing the actual rehabs.
Okay, got it. Okay, so there seems like, though, you've made quite a business out of it. So
yeah,
I mean, you started off doing how many houses, a month or week or a year, what have you?
Yeah, so we started with maybe doing one or two a year is what we would try and do. And again, because I was doing all the work, right? So it would take me 6 months to do a house. Versus now we can do one in 7 days. And I'm sure we'll talk about that as well. But it was just me. And so we would do 1 or 2 deals a year starting out.
And it was literally just you?
Yeah.
Yeah. You were painting, you were doing everything?
Everything. Yeah. I laid a lot of tile. I laid a lot of trim. I did a lot of, yeah. And then I would sub some things out, right? Like the HVAC stuff and maybe some plumbing. But I did a lot of electrical work. I remember roofing a house by myself. Like I just did a lot of
goodness,
stuff.
wow.
Yeah. I don't recommend that.
Superman. I mean, size houses were they on an average sort of?
Yeah. So in our market, about an 1,800 square foot house.
3-bedroom, 2-bath type?
Yep. Yep. Exactly. 2,000 square feet roughly. That's a normal
pretty good
property.
size. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Wow. That's amazing. I mean, I can't picture. Now you're working full time though, right? In the corporate side while so when are you doing your rehab work? I mean, when are you actually getting in there after work? Weekends?
Yeah. So it was just a lot of moonlighting, a lot of late nights. I remember my friends all going and partying and hanging out on spring break. And I spent that weekend at my house, right? Flipping this house. So that was just kind of the sacrifices that I'd made, that I'd go to school 2 or 3 nights a week, getting my degree. And then I would, in between those, when I wasn't doing homework and everything else, a lot of weekends I spent flipping houses, stuff like that. And then I started bringing in some people to help me because it just became too much. So I would start getting some subs and I would just kind of be a GC. And I would just manage the subs, and then I kind of evolved from there. And then I got a GC, and he kind of did all the work, and I oversaw him, and it grew from that.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to ask next is how did you scale at that point?
Yeah, so I really didn't start scaling until after I had graduated from college, and I still wanted to do real estate. I was doing, I had my corporate job. But I still like the idea of real estate. And so I hired a GC to help me just kind of do all of the work. I didn't have time anymore that I could go and put into these properties. So I hired a GC, and then that's where we kind of started. He did a few deals for us. And then, it didn't work out with that GC. So I said, hey, look, I'll just manage the subs myself. And so I would just get a whole bunch of subs and just coordinate with them. And I would kind of act as that GC. And then over time, it just came that I started hiring crews that could do majority of the work, and I would just project manage. And then eventually I turned that project management. I hired a project manager to kind of take that role. So then I could really just keep scaling my business.
How many were you doing at about that time when you hired the GC? How many houses were you flipping at that point?
So we were getting a little bit better. We were probably doing 3 or 4 in a year, which was pretty good. And then about 3 years ago, we closed on 2 properties, and I was working corporate America, and I told my wife, I'm like, hey, look, we've closed on these 2 properties. I know where my passion really is. It's in real estate, and I want to do that full time. And so I was still the project manager. I was still managing all these properties, working a W-2 job. And then we closed on these 2 properties, and I was making more money in real estate than I was at my W-2 job at that time. And so I said, hey, look, hon, like I came home to my wife, said, hey, look, this is a dream that I want to do. I want to go into real estate. I want to work for myself. I thought I wanted corporate America. I really don't. I just want to start my real estate company. And she told me no. Bill, do you believe that? She
Whoa,
said, no,
okay. Whoa.
She said, no way. You've got a good paycheck. You have health insurance. You have good retirement. Why would you ever quit that, right? All that security goes out the window.
Uh-huh.
So anyways, after some conversing and, we prayed and thought about it, and we closed on these 2 properties. And I said, hey, look, we have enough money that we could live off for 6 months, and you won't ever notice the difference. I'll still pay us every 2 weeks. I'll make sure we have health insurance. The only difference is that the office is going to be in the basement now instead of driving to the office. And she said, all right, you have 6 months. If not, you're highly educated. You can go get another job, but I'll let you have 6 months. And that was 3 years ago. So we haven't looked back since.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I just had Mike Simmons, who you know.
Yeah.
Similar thing. He had to put a year's worth of salary in the bank, and then quit. And then if he didn't do it, I guess when there was still like 4 months left, he had to quit real estate and then try to find a corporate job.
Right.
So it was very similar, right?
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, one thing that's really amazing here is that you have, how many houses are you doing now for the most part?
We'll do 40 houses this year. We'll do 40 rehabs.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. And how many crews?
So I have 3 crews full time that just work for us. And then I have a project manager. I have 2 designers. We have our disposition guy who's selling our properties. We have 2 acquisition guys that are buying properties for us. So my company is a lot different than it was, 12 years ago.
Oh, yeah. and one thing that I think distinguishes you from a lot of other flippers out there is you have an amazing turnover time.
Yeah.
And do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, totally. So I hated these flips, right? Like we talked before when I first started doing them, is that they would take forever. Bill, and if you've ever flipped a house, you know that it never works out as long as you thought it would be, right? Like it shouldn't be that hard to do a house in 6 months. And so we decided last year, we're like, hey, I bet we could, what would it look like if we took away all the variables? And what if I said we can flip a house in 7 days? What would that look like? And so my project manager and I, we kind of were throwing it around, and then we found the perfect house. It was a $40,000 rehab. And I said, hey, I want to flip this house in 7 days. And he's like, no way, we can't do it. I don't believe it. We talked about it more. We kind of drew it out and we said, all right, we can make it happen. We're going to make it work. So we took out those variables of that Parkinson's law, right? Whatever time you allow a project is what it's going to take. So if you allow it 6 months, that's exactly how long it's going to take. So we planned it out to the T. Bill, I'm talking like we planned out everything on this flip. So we rented a U-Haul truck and we stacked it according by day. So the very back of the truck where you open the door, that was day 1. So as soon as our guys showed up, they'd open up the truck. Here's all the materials you needed for day 1. And then we stacked it strategically back until day 7 was at the front of the truck. And we would just go through it. We thought about all those things. We looked at how much would it cost to cater lunch versus letting our guys go to lunch, right? We figured we would have lost an hour and a half per guy if we let them go to lunch by the time they smoke and drive to lunch and eat lunch and come back and get back into it. And so we said, hey, look, what if we catered lunch and brought it here and we banned Home Depot runs? I'm sure you know flipping houses. Yes. Home
Sure.
Depot runs kill your project, right? Because
Sure.
they're never quick and they're never, I'll be back in 10 minutes. It's always 2.5 hours later they're back.
Right.
So we just kind of looked at all those variables and said, hey, look, how do we do it in 7 days? And we did it. The first one we did, it was a $40,000 rehab. We changed electrical panel and plumbing. We updated all new plumbing. We updated the HVAC system, all of those things, right? And we did it in 6 days, really. The 7th day, we just kind of did touch up paint and stuff like that. And that was really like a game changer for me and for my business, is because we realized that we kind of broke that 4-minute mile, that it had never really been done before. People weren't, flipping houses in 7 days. It was just crazy. It was unheard of. And so we said, hey, look, we've done this. We could do it again. And so then we did it again. We did it a second time. We did a 7-day flip. And then we did it a third time. And the second one didn't go near as well as the first one because we were cocky and we didn't plan it as well. And we changed a few things in the middle of the project and it just domino affected. So that was a great lesson learned. And then we did 4 rehabs in 7 days. So we got these 2 duplexes that were right next door to each other, 4 different units. And we said, hey, my project manager came to me and he's like, hey, how do we do these? This is perfect for a 7-day flip. Right? They're all next door to each other. We can get all the materials on the same job site. We can have all of our crews just take one of these units and we're going to do 4 and 7. So we did it. We got a film crew. They came out and they filmed the whole series. And maybe, Bill, you can put this in your show notes or something, but we made a documentary of it.
Oh my gosh. I definitely want to do that.
Yeah.
That'd be a great link. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. So I'll share that with you, but we did 4 rehabs in 7 days. So
God, that's crazy.
It was nuts. And yeah, so we filmed it all. We documented it. You got to see like what real flipping houses is. It's not like HGTV where it's all like, unicorns and rainbows and everything works out magically and all the before and afters, right? Like we take you in and you see that we had meth decon that we had to deal with. We had to deal with the city.
Gosh.
We had to replace the furnace. We had all these skeletons come out. I had to fire 2 people that week. just a lot of things that you wouldn't see in kind of that HGTV show. It was real. We wanted to take people on what does a really good house flipper look like? What's the process? What's the planning? All of those things. So you'll have to check it out, Bill. We aired it on YouTube just like a TV series. So every Monday we released a new episode. There's 10 episodes, and it just takes you through the whole process, how we found the deal, how we planned it, kind of my backstory, how we led up to this thing. And then the process every day is a new episode.
Oh, that's great. Wow.
Yeah. But you'll have to check it out. I'm not going to give you any spoilers.
No, we're going to put it on.
Channel.
We'll put it in the show notes. So definitely, I think that's great. Now, what about permitting? I mean, is that a big part of flipping for you guys? Or counties and cities can be real dogs in terms of just proving certain things. How do you get around that part of it?
Yeah, totally. So it really depends on your market, right? And how well the city is and how organized they are and how willing they are to work. But we did permits on these, and we had scheduled with them and said, hey, look, this is what we're trying to do. We want you to work with us. We just had pre-scheduled everything. And we said, hey, these are the milestones we've got to hit because our inspections are going to be at this time. And so luckily, the city was super awesome. They were really cool to work with us. They said, yeah, what you're doing is pretty cool. It's not unique. We're not going to do it every time. But they came through and they helped us out. And it just worked really well. So we got the permits on it. The inspector was there like almost every day, every other day, something like that. And we just made it work. I know that like in other areas, California and stuff, that would be really hard to do. But we made it work.
That'd be crazy here. Yeah. Man, that's awesome. Are you buying your houses in the same city, same county, or is it sort of all over Utah?
Yeah, mostly northern Utah. So there's 3 counties that we really invest in. And out of those 3 counties, probably 80% of our deals are in one city. So the city is in Ogden. It's northern Utah. And we like that market because it's first-time home buyers. And so it's kind of where a lot of first-time home buyers are buying their houses. It's the median housing price in Utah is $330, and we're selling houses right in the $250 range, just to give you some perspective, right? So these are kind of first-time home buyers, and we do that. That's just our niche. We're really good at that first-time home buyer. Your buyer pool's really big. You have a lot of people who are looking for that price range. And it's just a really good economy up there. So we just kind of stick to that niche, and that's what we're good at, and that's what we continue to do.
And you take it all the way through the sales process as well?
Yeah. So my team does that.
And are you selling to investors, or you're selling to actual first-time home buyers, more to the consumer side?
Yeah, so we'll buy it from sellers, like motivated sellers, or people will come to us and say, hey, look, I just inherited grandma's house and she's a hoarder and has 73 cats. And we love those houses, right? We love those houses. If it smells like pee, it's for me. I heard someone say that we buy a lot of those cat pee and cigarette smoke houses that no one else really wants. And then we turn them into something that's really nice, right? That someone can live in and they can start their family in, and just kind of that first-time home buyer stuff.
That's nice. And you have a whole process for that, that putting it up for sale and so forth, that you're marketing it?
Yep. Yeah. So we have a team that they do all of our transaction coordination for us. They're marketing the properties. They're selling them. They do all of that stuff. So before COVID happened, we were planning on listing a house every 9 days, and it got a little screwed up. We're probably pretty close to that still. But yeah, that was our plan, is to be able to list a property every 9 days.
Wow. That's amazing. So that'd be certainly a lot. I mean, that'd be a lot of houses in a year. What are you up to now in terms of your, sort of your yearly count and sort of your total number of houses?
So we're pretty close to being on track. We're at 24 houses right now. Our goal was 40 this year. So I think that's pretty doable, that we could still, we're 16 houses away. And I think that we're buying right now, anywhere from 3 to 5 every single month. So,
and you're having no trouble finding the houses that you want.
Yeah, we just have a really good acquisition guy that their job is to go out and find these properties. And so that's how they get paid, right? Is by finding these properties and meeting with sellers and finding out their motivation and kind of negotiating that price. So they're just really good at it and really hungry, and they get paid on a commission. And so that's their livelihood. But we've got a good system in place for that as well, that we're providing leads for them and all of that stuff.
Excellent. Well, in doing this, I would imagine you've definitely learned a lot. It sounds like you kind of, you learned for the School of Hard Knocks here. But what would you say is sort of one of the biggest mistakes that you made, and what did you learn from that? What could other people learn from how you sort of got out of that or recovered from that?
Yeah. So like I talked about before, one of our biggest mistakes was our very first flip, and we've lost some other, some money on some other houses, but that was the most painful, I think. And that I learned a couple things from that, right? Is that we really just didn't understand anything. We just jumped in blindly, and we had tried to figure it out. And that was great. Like, I strongly encourage that, but to get a little bit more experience and to ask more questions. And it was painful to go through, right? $37,000 for a college kid. That was a lot of money. And I just didn't have that to lose. But what we learned from that coming out of it is that, we deal with integrity in my business, that's really important, to do what you say you're going to do. And we did it. We made that right with the investor, and it took us some time, and we worked out a deal with him. And but we learned what not to do, right? That was just a big thing. And then also, that we didn't give up on it, that we had a dream. We knew that it was something that we wanted to do, and we probably should have quit. A lot of people, if they would have lost $37,000 on their first deal, probably wouldn't have done a second one, right? But that was such a great experience to us. I'm glad that we kept going and that we had that determination to achieve our dreams and to follow that passion that we had.
Yeah, it sounds like persistence was definitely built into your model in the beginning.
Absolutely.
Awesome. And what would you say is sort of your biggest success?
My biggest success is surrounding myself with good people. So whether that's in my company, I feel like I have really good people that are surrounding me that can see that vision. I sit in that visionary seat, right? That I'm always looking at the 50,000 feet level of where the business needs to go. But I have really good people who are good at implementing that vision and making it happen. And so surrounding myself with good people, and not only just in my company, but with mentors as well. Like we've talked about Mike Simmons before, and the group that he's a part of is called 7-Figure Flipping. And those are guys that, for me, that really changed my business, because they were the ones telling me that, yeah, you can break that 4-minute mile. And why couldn't you do a house in 7 days? That's awesome. Go for it. Do it. And it's just having those people around you that are going to inspire you and help you and get you to where you need to go. I always tell when I do a lot of speaking, and I always talk about, it's hard to fly with eagles when you're surrounded by turkeys. Right?
True.
And so I wanted to fly with eagles. And so the biggest success to me is by joining a mastermind group of people who were doing more deals than me, and who were better than me, and who were pushing me and reaching their hand down and saying, yeah, Tyler, I can help you. Or here's a mistake that I made. Don't do that. You should do this instead. And so that really honestly was the biggest success to me, is surrounding myself with people who are better than me, whether it be on my team. If you're a construction worker or a contractor, you're a project manager, you're an office admin, it's people that are better than me that kind of make up for my weaknesses that help us move forward. But also just surrounding yourself by mentors and people who are going to inspire you. And that group really has changed my life, because I was doing, 6 or a dozen deals, something like that. And I thought that was a pretty big deal, right? We're doing 12 houses in a year. That's pretty impressive. And these guys are like, yeah, I'm doing, 100 in a year, right? And I just I couldn't see past that. So they broke that ceiling for me, and they gave me that belief that I could do it and the support that I needed to get there. So that for sure is one of my biggest successes, is surrounding myself with the right people.
No, that's neat. That's neat. Well, we have a lot of folks here. Our focus is really on 50 plusers, people that are
Sure.
50 years of age. So they're either nearing retirement or they're in retirement already. And, a lot of them are looking at real estate as a means to be able to help fund their retirement, also to create a legacy to leave to their family. And, what advice would you have for this group in terms of, from your experience, in terms of being able to generate that cash flow later on in your life?
Oh, yeah. I love this age group. It is awesome. And it has helped my business so much. And here's how that a lot of these people that you're talking about, these old dogs, right, that are getting into real estate. But a lot of these people aren't hungry to go out and to start a new business and to take risk and all of those things. And I honestly, I wouldn't be either, right? Like, you want to enjoy those retirement stages. So what I would see with this audience is that find someone like me who is young and hungry and passionate and willing to go out and get it and all of those things. So we have a lot of people that take their IRAs and they'll do a self-directed IRA and they'll invest it with us. And how that works is that we secure it by the real estate. So they get a tangible asset. So it's not like you're putting it into the stock market and you hope that it goes up instead of down, right? We saw when COVID happened, just the ebb and flows of how the market went. You lost a lot of money in one day and you maybe got some back and then you lost more money. And the nice thing about real estate is that it doesn't do that, right? At least not as dramatically as what happened in the stock market. And so we have a lot of these old dogs that will come and invest with us because we're young, we're hungry, we want to make it happen. But they're getting their investment, they'll put it onto real estate, and then we're paying them interest. And so their money is working for them. And it's a good interest rate, right, that they're getting paid on.
What kind of yields are people pulling right now?
Yeah, so it really depends on what they need, right, and what people are looking for. Like my dentist, he's a great example he's one of our investors. And he's like, hey, my IRA is making 3.5%, and it's just not great. And I said, well, what if we could double that? That would be great. But anyways, it's anywhere from 6 to 12% return on their money that they're making, but it's diversifying their retirement, right? Their portfolio, but it's also secured by an asset. So if you ever wanted to come and see the property, or you wanted to come and be protected, knowing that if something happens, right, you have an asset that still has that cash value. So a lot of people are doing that, these old dogs, and it's great for them because they don't have to do anything. They don't have to go and lay tile and find a plumber, and they don't have to do the hard mechanic stuff of flipping a house, but they get to feel like they're a part of our team. They're our investors. They're making a good return. It's secured by real estate. It's a lot less versatile as the market. They're getting a fixed rate of return, and it's just really beneficial to them. So yeah, any advice for them is I would say, man, get into rental properties. Those are always good cash flows. But also maybe find someone who is flipping houses and partner up with them and say, hey, look, I've got some money in my IRA account, and give me a really good return on it. And then they don't have to go out and do the work. They don't have to go find the deal. They don't have to negotiate it. They don't have to deal with all the construction headaches that come with flipping a house, but they just get to reap the benefits on the upside by having that asset, and then also by being able to get a good return on it.
Sure, that's great. Well, you're still a young guy here,
yeah.
and you've got a ways to go. Well,
Sure.
What's sort of your end game? Are you looking ahead, and what are your goals for the future?
Yeah, so I love flipping houses. I think that I'll always do that just because I really enjoy it. I like, I get that gratification of taking these old crappy houses and turning them into something nice. Like that gives me fulfillment. So we'll still always flip houses, but the end game for us is to create that passive income, right? Right now it's really active because I'm young and I'm hungry and I just want to build that cash reserve. But eventually the time will come that we'll need to start putting into some syndications or some multifamily getting into some commercials, some bigger properties, stuff like that, that gives us that return on our money that we're looking for. So for the next 5 years, it's definitely very active for me. I'm still young. I still want to, go and conquer the world. But eventually, as that will start to slow down, we'll have good cash reserves that then we can go and invest and have our money work for us. So just doing kind of some of those bigger deals, some multifamily stuff, getting into some syndications, all of that.
Great. And with some of these houses that you're doing, I mean, you definitely sound like you've got it down to an absolute system. I'd be real curious just to hear what are sort of the standard things you're putting in your homes. Are you putting stainless steel appliances in every place? Are you putting, vinyl floors? Are you putting tile floors? I mean, what are some of some of the standard things that will sell a house right away?
Yeah, all of those, all of the above. So we put appliances in all of our houses, and we do that. Again, that's a strategic move, right? Because most of the people that are buying these houses don't have an extra $3,000 or $4,000 to be able to go and buy new appliances. So we take care of that already. That's one of their check boxes. We do a lot of things that we're making sure that all the utilities are good. That's important to us because I know that homeowners don't want to worry about plumbing. They don't want to worry about the roof. They don't want to worry if the furnace is going to be able to keep their kids warm. So we make sure that we're really focusing on those utilities. Those are the needs. And then we kind of do some of the wants. So we have a couple designers that are on our team that their job is to go in and pick wow factors, right? Whether it's a shiplap wall or an accent wall or the backsplash in the kitchen, something like that to just make it pop and stand out. So that's a really important thing when we're selling our houses. And a lot of the feedback that we get is that people are like, wow, you really paid attention to detail. But that detail doesn't have to cost a lot of money. It just has to be something that creates, that tingly feeling when they walk through a house and they're like, oh, wow, this wall is board and batten, or it's shiplapped, or they painted it a different color. All of that kind of stuff really matters to people. And that's what we do a lot of things like that. So just everything you said, we're doing tile, we're doing LVP flooring, we're doing stainless steel. We put granite countertops in all of our houses. We can get granite pretty cheap here in Salt Lake. And so we put granite countertops in it. And it's just one of those things that the kitchen and bathrooms, I preach this to my crew all the time. If you can do a good job on the kitchen and the bathrooms, then that's where your money is, right? Because most people are going to spend the most time in their kitchen, and they're going to want to have a good, clean bathroom or master bath. And that's kind of what we're really focused on. And then that curb appeal and stuff like that. You want to create an emotional experience for these buyers. They want to walk in and say, wow, I love this house. They did a really good job on it.
That's nice. That's nice. Do you put in a lot of windows on your homes as well?
No, not a ton. We'll do a few windows here and there, but yeah, we just don't change a lot of those out because even with single pane windows in our market, it's still kind of what people are expecting on a first time house. So they're like, yeah, I get that it'll be a single pane window and that's fine. So we don't do a ton of those, but if we need to, then definitely.
And what's your criteria for the house? How old, will you go on a house that you're rehabbing?
Yeah, we're doing one right now that's 1892.
No way.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Wow.
Yeah, it's been remodeled a few times before us even. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we're doing one right now that's 1892. It's an amazing house. It's probably got 3 or 4 additions that have been added on it over the course of 100 and something years. But yeah, that's a house that we're doing. And yeah, so we're not afraid of the age. It's just we got to make sure that the rehab that we're doing makes sense.
Yeah. That
we're not going to over rehab it. We're not going to the numbers all tie out and that we're going to be able to sell it at the end of the day.
Right. Great. Well, thanks. Well, we have kind of zipped by here in our time. And,
no kidding. It's been good.
I know. This is awesome. We have a little tradition here. We call it our Wrap It Up. And this is where I ask you a series of quick questions so you can share resources that have been of value to you so our listeners can maybe learn something new too. So if you are ready, we can go ahead and wrap it up.
Rapid fire. I love it.
You got it. All right. First question, favorite real estate book?
I just finished a book by Mike Simmons, actually. It's called Level Jumping, and it's all about how to build a real estate company. So that right now is my favorite real estate book.
I love it. I love it. Great book. Great book. How about favorite business book?
How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie is still my number one favorite book.
Great. How about most valuable website for success? Other than your own, of course.
Yeah. I listen to a lot of like motivational videos on YouTube and stuff like that, but also seven-figure flipping as well. They do a lot of like how to get started in real estate and stuff like that. So that's what I would say for those.
Your mastermind has its own website?
It does. Yep. They have a lot of things on that as well. So it's called sevenfigureflipping.com.
Oh, great. Great. How about a favorite app?
My favorite app? Man, that's a good question. For business or for just for fun?
It could be either or.
Yeah, my favorite app is probably Driving for Dollars.
It's called Driving for Dollars.
Yep.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, so wherever we're driving around, you can tag properties that are in distress, and it builds a database for you. So as you're driving around and you see 18 inches of grass and 37 newspapers on the doorstep and boarded up windows, that's the house that I'm going to tag. And so I'll click on that app, and my wife and I, we like just going driving and looking at houses and looking at different, architects and stuff like that. So I enjoy that. That's one of my things, and I'm always looking for the next flip.
Very cool. How about a favorite quote?
Probably Henry Ford. If you think you can or think you can't, you're right.
I love it. Great quote. Great quote. Okay, now here's one. I don't know if you'll know this one or not, because you started off in a humble way, but we'll see what happens. This is if you had to start all over, knowing what you know now. Okay, let's say you lost everything and all you had left. I mean, your whole business everything's gone. You've got $1,000 in cash. Okay, so what would you do with that $1,000 to relaunch your real estate investing business?
I would network. I would spend it on buying lunch with people who are smarter than me. And so what I would do is I would just go and build my network all over again. If I had to start over, I would start out by meeting people who were doing it and doing it better than me, or where I wanted to go and where I wanted to be. And as Tony Robbins says, turn decades into days. How do you turn their decades of experience into days for you? And that's what I would do. I would just start networking with people. That's what a lot of our business and a lot of our deals come from our network that we've already established, from agents and attorneys and referrals, and all of those things come from our network. So I would focus highly on that, on surrounding myself again with the eagles instead of turkeys.
I love it. I love it. That's great. Well, even from your first example, your first job, you had an investor. A lot of people don't do that. I mean, it's hard to even find an investor when you have no experience. So it sounds like you have that down starting early, which
Lots
is great.
of convincing, but
that's great. So I'm sure there's a lot of people listening that, have heard your story, and definitely they're going to come to the show notes and watch your videos.
Yeah, perfect.
But how can they get a hold of you? What's a good way for folks to reach you? I know you mentioned you involved with coaching and other things too. So how should they go about that?
Yeah, so Seven Figure Flipping is the mastermind group that I'm a part of. And so check that out at sevenfigureflipping.com. They have podcasts. They have a whole bunch of stuff. I do a lot of coaching for them. So if you're interested and you want to get some coaching on how to do real estate, look at that for sure, sevenfigureflipping.com. Also, they do an event in October. It's called Flip Hacking Live, and it's 3 days, and you're in the same room with the best wholesalers, house flippers, rental owners, like the best in the business in the entire country comes to Flip Hacking Live. So it's all about real estate. It's 3 days of just amazing content. We open up the business the doors of our business and share everything. Like, last year I spoke at Flip Hacking Live and I talked about exactly the strategy on how to do a 7-day flip. Here, I gave everyone the recipe. I gave them my budgets, my Gantt charts, everything like that all came out at Flip Hacking Live. So check that out as well. FlipHackingLive.com. You can check out and come be in that room. It's an incredible experience. And then also for me personally, my company is called Utah House Flip. You're welcome to follow us on Facebook. Follow me on Facebook, Tyler Jensen on Facebook. You'll see some of our 7-day flip stuff going on there. Just a lot of fun stuff that we have going on in our company right now.
That's great. That's great. Well, thank you. Wow. Well, we are at the close here. And of course, we have this tradition where you get to give us your best old Hound Dog Howl. I don't know if you're up for this, but I know Utah, you've got a lot of dogs, a lot of hunting dogs. You got wolves probably out there. So I'm sure you could definitely come up with something.
Yeah, absolutely. So Bill, it's funny that I actually had to YouTube this before. So I spent the last, 15 minutes just making sure.
What did you type in? How to howl?
I just did old Hound Dog Howl or something like that. So I wanted to make sure that I had it down. So I kind of cheated. I'm in my office howling, and I'm sure that people were wondering what I was doing in my office. So, all right, you ready? Here it goes. Ow, ow, ow!
Oh, that was good. That was a good one. Very good. Man, that might even make it in our Golden Howl Awards.
Oh, I didn't even know that was a thing. I would have practiced more.
Well, we don't want to tell you because, of course, you're going to try too hard. But no, that's great. Wow.
Well, thank you, Bill. It's been an amazing honor and privilege to be able to get to know you, and just super honored and grateful to have you reach out and to be on your show. I know you're doing some amazing things. I've listened to a couple of your other shows, and it's just an amazing what you're doing for your audience and your subscribers and all of that. So really appreciate you, the influence that you're making. You're truly a ripple effect guy. You're making some ripples that are spreading out pretty far. So thank you again for your time, man. Sincerely, I really appreciated it, being able to share my story and get to know you a little bit better. You sound like an amazing guy, and I'd love to shake your hand one day when this whole coronavirus is past us.
Yeah, tell me about it. Well, thank you, Tyler, for being on. It's been our honor and pleasure to have you. And I think it's a great interview, some good stuff here. So I think people can take home with them and really enjoy. And I also want to thank all our old dog listeners out there, too, for joining us. I know there's a lot of other things you could be doing right now, but the fact that you've taken the time to join us means a lot, and we greatly appreciate it. Now, please note, everything that Tyler talked about today will be detailed in our show notes that can be accessed at our website at olddogsreinetwork.com/blog. And you're going to look for that episode with Tyler Jensen. Well, that's the show for today. Remember, cash flow is king and real estate investing the means. Until next time, keep moving forward, and may God bless.
Thank you very much for visiting the Old Dogs REI Network. We would greatly appreciate if you would stop by iTunes and let us know what you think of the show. We would love if you could subscribe to the podcast, give us a 5-star rating, and write a review. The more ratings and reviews we receive, the more visible the podcast will be to others. Thank you.